Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Warhammer Total War 2. As always, I am General Confusion, and it's been a while since I've done any videos on Warhammer. I am still playing the game, I still love the game, still not very good at it, but I haven't done any videos on it because, to be honest, they weren't all that popular, and I kind of got more interested in other things, mainly Dominions, and then I've branched out a little bit. That said, I am going to be coming back to it. I just really enjoy playing Warhammer. It's a lot faster paced than most of the games I play, which is tough for me because I am slow, but I think it's worth it. Plus, it's good to keep those old micro skills sharp that I used to have back in my StarCraft days. So, I am playing the Greenskins, my very favorite faction. Them and the Skaven are probably up there, but I like the Greenskins better. They hold a special place in my heart. And I am playing against Bretonnia, so this is kind of a classic Warhammer 1 match. There have been a lot of changes since Warhammer 1, however. Some of which have affected the Greenskins, some of which have merely affected other factions around them. We're going to put it on slow-mo here to start things off. The Greenskins are kind of in a tough place. They're not... It's interesting, because on the one hand, the Greenskins have a lot of tools, but on the other hand, they don't have much that can stop certain things from the other factions, and it's easy to cheese the Greenskins out nowadays. But in any case, let's talk about army lists. I have brought... I was thinking of trying something kind of interesting in this game. I brought Grimgor Ironhide, and Grimgor is very much not a competitive pick nowadays. His problem is he's infantry, and his melee defense is very, very low. So despite the fact that he has Get Snick, which is a decent item, he has high melee attack, he does a lot of damage, he's armor piercing, he has high armor, and decent health, none of that helps when he can just be run down by monsters and gooned in seconds. So what I thought was, hey, let's bring Grimgor, and let's bring the Night Goblin Shaman, because the Night Goblin Shaman has the spell Night Shroud, which has been enormously changed and buffed so that it makes you invisible and gives you unspottable for 75 seconds. That's incredibly useful if you can use it well. So I was thinking, well, I'll bring Grimgor, he is very tough, and to protect him against getting gooned, I'll have this Night Goblin Shaman who can drop Night Shroud on him if it looks like the enemy is going to be sending out a goon squad, and hopefully that will help him get into combat. To support him then, I brought kind of a general army. I didn't build this against Bretonnia. I've got, in the front line, I've got the 2 Night Goblin Regiments of Renown flanking, which I think are fantastic units. To 8-peak loonies are unbreakable, which is so hugely valuable, and to Warlord's boys are immune to psychology. They also sunder armor. So, especially for their price, those 2 are just fantastic units. Flanking 2 Black Orcs, which are very, very solid heavy infantry still. I've got 2 Goblins up front to meat shield. Excuse me, almost choked on my own spit there. And I have 2 Savage Orc Biggins in the back line. Savage Orc Biggins are some of the very most efficient anti-large the Greenskins have available nowadays. With their Frenzy, their melee attack is very high, and their weapon strength is very high. When you add in their bonus versus large, they're just enormously effective against the large units, even armored ones, because they do reasonable armor-piercing damage. It's not great, but it's reasonable. They also have a very high charge bonus, and of course they have that physical resist, which is great in melee. I have 1 unit of nasty skulkers back here with the smoke bombs to tie down flying units that try to hit my archers or cavalry. I have the Rusty Errors, and then I have 1 unit of Orc Error Boys, which I never used to take because they're a little more expensive than Goblin Archers. However, they just got buffed in the recent patch, so now they have 6 AP damage, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the highest armor piercing of any regular archer unit in the game. I mean, it's second only to, like, Dark Elf crossbows. And so given that, they're actually pretty solid nowadays. I mean, their melee defense is still garbage, but in terms of damage they can put out, they ain't bad. And then I have, in the back, I have 1 unit of the Broken Tusks mob, the Regiment of Renown Orc Boarboy Biggins, which are very solid. Lots of armor, lots of attack, good leadership, excellent leadership actually. So that's my main army. Then way over here in Vanguard deployment, I have Mogrib's Mangy Marauders, which are the armor-piercing Regiment of Renown Wolf Rider Archers with 10 AP missile damage, which is always great. And then 1 unit of regular Goblin Wolf Rider Archers. I still love these guys. They're just so cheap. Even if they die, who cares? My opponent has brought, he's got hidden off in the woods, he's got 1 cheeky little Grail Knight, His main line is Battle Pilgrims, which are a pretty decent infantry. They have Frenzy, and they have just awful, disgustingly high leadership. Especially when they're encouraged and they have Grail Reliquaries and things around. Like, look at that. 106. 106 leadership on a cheap frontline infantry. That is disgusting. But other than that, they're not very good. So he's got a front line of Battle Pilgrims, a Grail Reliquary backing them up. He's got a Damsel of Beasts. He has 2 standard Peasant Bowmen, a Grail Guardian in Lance formation, a Peasant Mob guarding his archers, a unit of Pegasus Knights, and King Lewin Leoncoeur. So he's kind of gone for like a half-assed Flying Goon Squad. I'm not sure entirely what that is, but the basic strategy is obvious. He's going to try to hold me with the Battle Pilgrims, shoot me with the archers, and rear charge me with the Grail Knights over here and the Grail Guardians. He's got Lewin flying around kind of taking looks at me. My archers are just going to chase him off a little bit, firing those nice high-angle shots that won't accomplish anything. I, of course, deployed in the woods and have been moving through the woods because I surmised that he would not want to send his very effective Bretonnian cavalry into the woods after me. So I'm just going to kind of line up where I want to be. I haven't spotted these guys yet. I have no idea they're here. My Goblin Wolf Rider archers are back here in the woods. He hasn't spotted them either. So they're just kind of waiting for him to turn the flank to them so they can get in after the archers. And that's why I love them. They're so cheap and they're so fast. With the 92 speed, there aren't many units in the game that can catch them, which means they can easily get back here and harass archers or even kill archers and infantry and even cavalry that's waiting in the back line sometimes. So now I'm coming out of the woods because I am the Greenskins after all. I do have to charge. I'm keeping my Broken Tusks mob close to the archers along with, of course, the nasty skulkers. And my leadership is a little back from the main infantry line because of this. I don't need leadership support to deal with. My Night Goblins and Black Orcs can take care of that. My Goblin Wolf Rider archers are coming in, gonna lay a few pot shots on the Battle Pilgrims, get some decent damage. In comes the Flying Goon Squad, just looking for their opportunity. It looked like they were coming towards Grimgor, but then I think the fire from the archers changed their mind. They thought, okay, we'll go for the archers. They're unprotected. There doesn't seem to be anything near them, but up, here's the trap. Here are the nasty skulkers. So up front, the lines are colliding. My archers are getting on his archers, which is great. He's charging the Grail Guardians into the 8 Peak Loonies. I'm pulling this unit back, and look at what happened here. The nasty skulkers popped their smoke bomb, which means these Pegasus Knights are now speed 26, and Lewin is now speed 24. So the Broken Tusk mob are going to charge in. At this point, if I was him, I would have taken the Grail Knights out of Lance, and I would have sent them over here. Because getting rid of the Broken Tusks mob and my archers would have been an enormous coup, and it could easily have happened. However, in this case, the Broken Tusks mob are wiping out the Pegasus Knights, because Pegasus Knights are not a tough unit. And the Nasty Skulkers are coming in to apply AP, and the Savage Orc Biggins are also coming in. He gets a great rear charge on these Savage Orc Biggins. That was fantastic. It's going to save these Battle Pilgrims, but in the back line, my archers are mixing it up with his Peasant Mob, which isn't great, but we've almost wiped out this unit of Peasant Bowmen. Over here, my infantry has crushed his center, absolutely annihilated it with support from the Night Goblin Shaman. In the back, we've almost destroyed his Pegasus Knights. King Lewin has disengaged and has gotten into the fracas up here, but he's fighting Black Orcs, which isn't exactly where he wants to be. Black Orcs are pretty good at dealing with King Lewin. And Savage Orc Biggins are coming in to charge him as well. The Grail Reliquary, meanwhile, is kind of singled out. The Pegasus Knights are gone. My Broken Tusks mob got a nice rear charge on his Grail Knights. And despite the fact that they are technically losing, they're inflicting a ton of damage, and they're pinning the Grail Knights in place for the archery, so the archers are cleaning up. The center is disintegrated here. We're fighting the Damsel with these Black Orcs. And King Lewin is not pulling out, which he really ought to at this point. He could. He's trying to kill my Night Goblin Shaman, which, understandable, I get that. But I think he should be getting out here. These Grail Guardians are munching onto 8 Peak Loonies, but since the 8 Peak Loonies are unbreakable, they're not going to rout. In the back, my Goblin Wolf Rider archers are charging into his Peasant Bowmen. They're not going to win, but they're going to keep the Peasant Bowmen from firing for a while Mulgrub's mangy Marauders deal with that Peasant mob. The Broken Tusks mob have actually broken the Grail Knights, and are now riding around triumphant waving their little spears. and I've got Grimgor onto King Lewin along with all the archery. So King Lewin is now getting reverse gooned, which shouldn't ever happen when you have a flying fast lord against an infantry lord. Don't let Lewin get in this fight. Grimgor can absolutely beat him if they both stand and fight. So Lewin is routing. The Grail Guardians are still in fantastic shape. They've done a ton of work, and they have taken very little damage, but Lewin is almost dead and is now being chased off by Savage Orc Biggins, who are going to follow him straight into the Peasant Bowmen. The front line of Bretonnia has collapsed. Lewin is routing. The only thing they have going for them is this pocket over here, where the Grail Guardians are, and the Grail Guardians can be dragged down by Black Orcs and Savage Orc Biggins. We popped Smoke Bomb again on nothing on the Grail Reliquary to keep it from getting away, so it's now not moving at all. And at this point, army losses kick in, just because I have lost almost nothing. I don't think I lost a single unit. So if we take a look at the casualties there, I think Derek here just wasn't prepared for the force of the hit. Battle Pilgrims are decent at holding the line, but against Black Orcs and Savage Orc Biggins, decent at holding the line isn't good enough. If you're going to have a front line like this as Bretonnia, you need to support it a lot, with a lot more cavalry. I mean, like, the Grail Guardians did a fantastic job. They did exactly what they were supposed to do, but the archers were kind of shut down pretty hard by the Wolf Rider archers, and the Goon Squad attempt just didn't work. I had too much guarding my archers. As a Greenskin player, your archers are your most vulnerable part of your line. Nasty Skulkers, just one unit of Nasty Skulkers back there by the archers is worth its weight in gold, because it can pin down those nasty flying units long enough for your heavy cavalry or your lord or something to get to them. As for my strategy, it kind of went out the window. I never actually cast Night Shroud on Grimgor. It was never actually needed because Grimgor was never targeted, so that was nice. But thinking about it in retrospect, probably it wouldn't actually accomplish much. I was thinking about this because I had a battle against Tomb Kings where I got absolutely massacred, largely because Grimgor got shot to death by Ushabti before he ever reached the front line. I mean, it was bad. He literally routed without ever contacting the enemy front line and was then shot in the back. So I was thinking, well, Night Shroud could stop that from happening. Against Bretonnia, where they have flying units, less effective because they can just hunt him down and find him if they really want to. But that said, I'm actually pretty happy with this build. I mean, Grimgor, as I said, still a non-competitive choice. I would probably do better if I picked Azag or Wurzag or an Orc War Boss on a boar or literally anyone else, but I like Grimgor, and I want him to work. I want to find ways to make him work, because, I mean, he's the one true Git. You've got to use him. He's the biggest and baddest of war bosses. Archery-wise, I'm happy with the Orc Error Boys. I was surprised. They did a very solid job helping shoot down those Grail Knights and helping shoot down King Lewin as well. So that little buff they got, 6 armor-piercing damage per Orc Error Boy, is actually really, really powerful. I mean, like, I'm considering bringing these guys in my next match against Dwarves, which normally I would never, ever do, but that much AP, they might actually accomplish something. Mogreb's Mangy Marauders are just, in my opinion, one of the best units in the game. I mean, look at that kill count. They're excellent at taking out light enemy units, harassing the back line, and they can put damage on heavily armored enemies. So overall, I think this build is pretty solid. I had never used Savage Orc Biggins much before Warhammer 2, and since Mortal Empires, as I've been playing Greenskins battles, I've been becoming more and more enamored of them. They are excellent, excellent anti-large infantry, and they're pretty solid against enemy infantry too. The only thing you have to watch out for is magic damage and arrows. Arrows will melt them, magic damage will melt them, but if they can get into melee, they are worth their weight in gold. So in any case, thank you all so much for watching, and there will be a few more of these in the future. I won't do them too often because I don't want to interrupt my series that I have going on, but look forward to a little more Total War Warhammer 2 play. Or don't look forward to it if you don't like it, but it's coming your way anyway. Thanks very much. I'll see you next time.